So all your friends and your enemies, those that are for you and against you, will see firsthand the favor on your life. When David faced Goliath, all the Philistine army was on the mountainside watching. The Israeli army on the other side. King Saul was out there, other leaders, people from the town. They all heard about this big fight. It was like the Super Bowl. Everyone came out to see. The odds were so against David, it was almost comical. Goliath stood over 9 feet tall. He was their most experienced fighter. David was a teenager, no armor, no training. When he ran out to face Goliath, all the eyes were on him. It was the moment they were waiting for. He slung that rock. It hit Goliath in the forehead, knocked him to the ground unconscious. David went over and took Goliath's own sword and cut his head off. Everyone stood there in astonishment, slack-jawed. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. Instantly, David had influence, credibility, honor, respect. Instead of making fun of him, dismissing him, now when they talked to David, it was yes, sir, no, sir, whatever you say, sir. Everything changed. His family never treated him the same way. His father now recognized the anointing on his life. Even the Philistines, the opposition, they didn't like him, but they couldn't deny the Lord was on David's side. Like David, God has some of these times where He's going to prove to people who you are. He's going to open doors you couldn't open. Help you accomplish what you couldn't accomplish on your own. Help you defeat giants that look much bigger. Everyone will see His hand on your life. He is not going to do it in secret. It's going to be a public display. A gentleman was in town several years ago for treatment at the medical center. He had a rare form of cancer. The physician treating him was a specialist in that area, very well known in the medical field, one of the best in the world. Even with the treatment, he'd given the man only 3 years to live. This man told the doctor that he was going to pray. He believed that God could heal him. Well, the doctor came from overseas. He doesn't have any kind of faith. He's a nice man, but he smiled and said, unfortunately, this type of cancer doesn't respond to prayer. He had never seen anyone recover from it, and he was respectful. He just saw it from a scientific point of view. Several months later, the man went back to see how the treatment was working. The doctor came in, looked at his chart, and seemed puzzled. Thought it was the wrong one. Went out, came back in a little later. He showed the man the old chart, compared it to the new, and said, in 40 years of practice, I have never seen this, but I don't see the cancer anymore. The doctor stood there in astonishment. He asked the man if he would write down what he prayed, how long he prayed, everything he did, so he could include it in his research. What was that? A public display. God showed His awesome power through this man, not just to heal him, but so other people would see the hand of God. That doctor will never be the same. He may not be a believer yet, but a seed was planted in his heart. And it's significant that David prayed, God, make a show of how much you love me. He was releasing his faith, saying, God, I believe you can take me where I can't go on my own. I wonder what would happen if we would start praying. God, make a show of how much you love me. Display your awesome power through me. Let me not only see your goodness, but use me to show other people how great you are. 1 Kings 18, 450 false prophets that worshiped the god Baal came against Elijah. Didn't look like he had a chance. It was all of them against him. They agreed to settle their feud by having a contest. They would both make an altar and put wood on it, and the God who started the wood on fire would be the true God. And sometimes, like Elijah, you find yourself in a situation where you feel outnumbered. The sickness seems bigger. the opposition stronger, the addiction too powerful. It's easy to get discouraged and shrink back, but you have to do like him. Don't be intimidated by what's against you. The battle is not yours, the battle is the Lord's. God did not bring you this far to leave you. He allowed that situation so he could display his awesome power through you. And every circumstance may say, you'll never get out, never get well. The obstacle's too big. Stay in faith. God has your back. It was 450 against 1. But what the prophets of Baal didn't realize is Elijah had the Most High God on his side. They built their altar, put the fire on it, put the wood on it, started praying, dancing, begging, shouting hour after hour. Everyone watching, nothing happened. Finally, Elijah said, it's my turn. He put the rocks down, put the wood on top of it. Then he told them to pour water on the wood. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. He wanted to make sure that when it caught fire, they would know it wasn't a coincidence. It wasn't just an act of nature. It was the hand of God. Verse 36, Elijah prayed, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you are the Lord and that I am your servant. Answer me so these people will know you are God. Think of the boldness that took. You know, it's one thing to pray and believe, and God doesn't answer our prayer, no big deal. We'll pray again tomorrow. We'll keep believing. Elijah didn't have this option. His life was on the line. It was God, either show up or I'm done. Soon as he finished praying, fire flashed down from heaven, burned it all up. Everyone fell on their face and said, Elijah, your God is the true God. God is going to do some things in your life where he doesn't just bring you out, he gives you a public sign. People around you may not believe yet, but when God displays his awesome power through you, when he promotes you when others were trying to push you down, when he takes you to levels you've never dreamed, they won't be able to deny it. They're going to know he is God. Elijah prayed, God, prove that you are the Lord and prove that I am your child. Now, God doesn't have to prove anything. He's God whether we believe it or not. But sometimes he will prove to other people that you are his child. And when you face difficult situations, you feel outnumbered, the giant seems too big, if you'll do like Elijah